Welcome to Business Tips with Michael Tobian. Today we're going to talk about how to start marketing your new business. In past sessions, we've talked about your priorities when you're planning your business and thinking of what you want to do as a business idea. And we've also talked about the process of setting up a business, both the logistics and guidelines that you're going to need to follow, but also considerations for long-term success. And we also talked about picking a business name and all the considerations that go into that. Well, you're going to get to the point where you're going to need to actually start marketing this new business. We're going to go over 7 different things that you're going to need to consider when starting your marketing efforts. I have a different video for each of these 7 points we're talking about, so make sure you subscribe below so that you can check those out. The first one we're going to talk about is a logo. The logo that you pick is probably going to stick with you for the duration of your business. So it's important to take some thought into creating this because it's going to be permanent. There are different ways you can create a logo. You can do it yourself. I would recommend that you get some kind of graphic design skills, even if they're just very basic. Adobe Illustrator is usually the standard for that. Whenever you're given logo or graphic design files, it's usually through some kind of Adobe program. Illustrator is the one that people usually use for logos. There's a lot of YouTube videos you can watch about this, or you can even take a class. You don't have to be an expert at it, but you should have some basic graphic design skills. It's going to come in handy when you're running your business. So you can design a logo yourself. If you're not an expert or if you're not an artist, you probably want to keep it simple. Another thing you can do is you can hire somebody local. The best way to find somebody local is to reach out to other people in the industry or ask for recommendations. The advantage to hiring somebody local is you're going to be able to work with them through the process. They'll have a lot of revisions. You can easily get together. You can go through those revisions. The third option would be to hire somebody that's not local, usually through some kind of service. Fiverr, Fiverr.com, freelancer.com. There are these different services that have freelancers that are good at graphic design, and you can contract them through a service. The challenges with doing that is sometimes there's a language barrier because they're out of the country. There's not as much communication that goes on, so there can be some advantages to using somebody local, but the out-of-town people are usually really good at what they do, and they have 5-star ratings, 4-star ratings. You can go and look and kind of compare, and there's a lot of different options. I usually go that route, and the reason it being is because freelancer.com has a logo contest feature where I can be very specific as to what I want, and I guarantee a prize, and I get tons of entries, and whichever logo I pick gets the prize. So I'll usually do a certain amount of money that's not too high, not too low, but enough that's going to motivate people, and I usually get some really good logo entries through those logo contests through freelancer.com. Again, watch that logo video that I have, but generally it's important to keep things simple, keep things right on message. Sometimes people get a little too elaborate with them. You just want a logo that's professional and really memorable. Number 2, a website. It's going to be important for most businesses to have a website or an online presence that people can go to and they can find out all the information they want to and kind of get a feel for the business. There are different ways to do this. The way that I usually recommend if you don't have a very complex website or you want to make a lot of changes yourself is to use some kind of website builder. So Squarespace.com, Wix, there are different websites builders that have templates that are really easy to figure out even if you don't have any website or software development experience. These templates are really dynamic and flexible. There's lots of them, a lot of different options that are just kind of plug in and play. I used to, earlier on in my career, I used to use Microsoft Front Page, which was this program on my computer, and I was building the website, and I would have to take each page and publish it. Well, these website builders are easy. You go online, you make the changes, and you simply click publish, and it just happens. So that is the way to go, probably, if you have something really simple that you want to do that's not going to be really complex or need a lot of integration. Another thing you can do is hire somebody to build your website. There are pros and cons to this. The pros are if you get somebody good, they can build you a really good website. And if you have a website that's more complex, this may be the way to go. The cons, sometimes it's difficult if somebody's built your website to get them to make changes in a timely manner. With a website builder, it's usually easy just to go in and quickly do it yourself. 5 minutes, you've got all the changes made, okay? Here are some cautions that I have for you if you're gonna hire somebody to do your website. These come from my experience of making mistakes. One, don't pay all up front for your website in most cases. It is really demotivating for a freelancer who's building a website to continue working on it and make the changes you need to make if they've already been paid and they've got other jobs that they haven't gotten paid for yet. On the other hand, it's very motivating if they haven't gotten paid to finish the job for you, okay? Usually you put down a deposit or something, but be careful about paying the whole amount up front because you might not get a very motivated freelancer if you're doing that. I would get somebody who's gonna follow through. A lot of times friends and family are not great resources for following through because they don't treat the relationship like a professional relationship. Oftentimes, sometimes they do. It just depends. Get someone who knows what they're doing, okay? Another problem with friends and family is oftentimes they're not very good at it, but they might be good enough and they might not build it in a way that's SEO friendly, or it might have other problems along with it, okay? I would get somebody who's gonna stick with you long term. I had an experience where I hired a guy and he said, this is the way I want to do it. And it was kind of not the way that's always done. And I said, okay. And he did it and he bailed. And then I had to have another guy come in and he said, why did he do it this way? Well, I kind of wish the first guy would have stuck with me. Or, and this brings me to my next point, if you're hiring somebody, it can be advantageous to make sure they are following processes and templates and things that are commonly used. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time fixing it or making changes down the road if they're using something super custom or something that's not kind of in regular use. We're going to go into more detail about websites in a video called Building a Business Website. So you should check that out. It's in my YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed and you'll get information for all of that. All right, number 3, social media. There's lots of different social media platforms, and you're just going to need to figure out the right one for your industry. Different industries tend to use different platforms in different ways. So for a lot of businesses, Facebook and Instagram tend to be the standard for sharing content and things like that, gathering a lot of followers. Some industries love LinkedIn. A lot of professional industries, agents and attorneys and things like that, see a lot of those on LinkedIn because it's a social network, but it's a really professionally oriented one. And then there's others. There's YouTube channels become really important if you're doing a lot of videos and want to grab a lot of subscribers. There's Pinterest and even TikTok and Snapchat and some of these for certain industries. You might want to explore all of them, but make sure you're prioritizing the one that's important for your industry. With social media, consistency is the key. It becomes difficult for business owners that don't already have a strong social media presence to try to do one for their business. You know, I see a lot of people say, oh, we need a Facebook or social media page, and then they do it and they just kind of post random things, but they aren't personally involved with social media very much. They're kind of on it with an uphill battle there because it's not something that you can just fake. Social media, you kind of have to treat it like your personal social life. I happen to be very active on social media. I'm always posting things. I'm always commenting on things. And people might look at my activity on social media and say, wow, he's wasting a lot of time. But the majority of the time I'm spending on social media, I'm actually working and I'm networking and I'm marketing. I may just be commenting friendly things on a vendor or a customer's Facebook page, but that's networking. So I'm active in a positive way in my industry through social media, and I treat it as if it is a real life social setting, which it is. So if you're gonna have your business on social media, you have to commit to it and you need it to be consistent. It can't be one of those things that every once in a while you post a random thing. That's not interesting to people. That's not developing friendships. That's not developing a social network. Number 4, email. You're going to want to get an email address that's customized to your brand or your business. The worst case scenario is you have some random email address. I would say a step beyond that is that you have, your business name at gmail.com or at hotmail.com or something like that. That's not as professional as having a custom URL though, okay? That's the ideal situation. So Google has a great resource for this. It's called the G Suite. And you go in and you can, if you own a URL for your business, you can go in and G Suite will integrate that and you can have like a Gmail address with your customized URL. So your name or admin or something at yourbusinessname.com. That's really what you need if you want to look professional. There are other programs, but G Suite's probably what most people use. Number 5, business cards. Business cards are still relevant, and it's often the most effective and cheapest way to market yourself. If you are providing a service in some way or a product, people may ask for a business card, and that is almost a guaranteed sale down the road. And if you don't have a business card, you don't look very professional. I'm really bad at this. I spend a lot of money marketing and advertising, and I produce events for a living. So I sometimes am at an event and somebody asks me for my business card, and I'm quite embarrassed oftentimes saying, I didn't bring any business cards. Well, what a complete waste. I spend so much effort with marketing, and I don't even sometimes bring business cards. So I'm having to say, well, can you write down my website, or here's my phone number? And it's just not very professional. It's easy, it's simple, it's cheap, and just have some business cards with you. Business cards are relevant, but they are becoming less relevant than they used to. Instagram actually tends to be, for a lot of businesses, kind of the new business card. I'm usually getting people asking what my Instagram is over if I have a business card. So make sure you have an Instagram presence, and that is sort of your business card. Display your products or services on Instagram regularly so when they go there, they can see what you're up to. Number 6, your personal associations. A lot of times people don't like to mix personal relationships with business relationships. If you're starting a business, it's kind of difficult not to do that, at least at first. Business just doesn't happen because you have a business. So you can set up a social media presence, you can set up a website, you can set up a logo, you can do all these things, and nobody's going to hear about you magically. You have to make it happen. You have to get the ball rolling. You have to turn the ignition. So a lot of times that's reaching out to personal relationships and saying, hey, just let you know I started this business. Or on social media, tapping into your personal social media and talking about the business, inviting people to like your Facebook page for your business. That's oftentimes the best way to get the ball rolling. And so if you're a little uncomfortable with that, it might be difficult for you to start a business. Some people have the opposite problem. They just flood their personal social media with advertisements about their business, and then they lose friendships and followers online because people just get so annoyed with it. So you got to find that balance and what your comfort level is. But even if you're uncomfortable with it, you're still probably going to want to invite friends to like your business page and things like that, because you have to start somewhere. All right, the last thing is outbound marketing. So you've set up all these things so that when you show people your business, it's going to look impressive. Outbound marketing is going to be one of your best resources, especially at first when you try to get the word out about your business. So that might be outbound sales. I've spent hours and hours on the phone calling out of the phone book, calling businesses saying, are you interested in the product? It's not fun, but it is an effective way to get new customers, especially when you're starting out. Facebook groups. There are a lot of Facebook groups that are very industry specific. Let's say you're a model or you're in the modeling industry. There are modeling Facebook groups where people are posting modeling jobs, and people are being connected that way. I've had some experience and success with those types of things. Especially as you're starting out, you want to just be looking for work, and sometimes these Facebook groups are a good way to do it. They're usually closed groups, so you'll need to ask to be invited to the group, and they usually ask you some questions, and then you get in the group, and you can post about your services, but more importantly, pay attention to what kind of jobs are being offered in those Facebook groups. Check it once a day. You can do advertising. This is going to be more expensive, and you want to be thoughtful about the advertising, but that is a way to get the ball rolling. There's Facebook advertising, there's online advertising, certainly print advertising and different things like that. Networking. You're going to want to start networking. If you're not like a social butterfly, you're going to want to start to become one and reach out and make genuine friendships with people in these industries. Sometimes people view networking as this fake thing where they're shaking hands, and then they're giving their elevator pitch. The best way to network is to try to become legitimate friends with people in the industry. Kind of like I said before, it's hard to separate your personal life and your business life in some ways. I have lots of friends that are customers and vendors that I use in my industry, and they're real friendships. They're not fake friendships. Perhaps they started because I wanted to become friends with somebody in the industry so I could get work, but they've turned into real friendships and we really do things for each other. Sometimes we hang out together. Sometimes we send each other funny messages or texts or something like that. But this is networking nowadays. It's very social. It's quite often online, and it's genuine friendships that you're building in the industry. Okay? Finally, the best thing you can do for marketing efforts is just have the best quality product or service. That is cheap and it's the most effective. If you do a good job, you're going to get a lot of customers. They're always going to be happy and they're going to share with their friends and associations all about your business, and your business is going to grow very quickly by just doing a great job. That's what I've learned. And all the money I've spent in advertising and marketing, I get most of my job because someone texts me who's a friend in the industry. It says, hey, are you guys available on this date? And I say, sure. Costs me nothing. And they're the easiest jobs to book because I don't have to sell them. All I got to do is send them a contract and we're done. Thanks for joining us today. Please subscribe below if you'd like to learn more tips about running your business. Thank you.